The world has a way of testing us. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for us to be ready, and it certainly doesn't follow the timeline we set for ourselves. The test comes when it comes. Sometimes it's in the form of disappointment. Sometimes it's in the form of rejection. Sometimes it's failure, heartbreak, loss, or unexpected change. The test isn't scheduled in our calendar. It arrives unannounced, and it forces us to respond. That is the reality of life, whether we like it or not. The world will test everyone. No one is exempt. But here's the thing: the world isn't testing us to destroy us. It's not plotting against us. It's simply revealing whether we are ready for the responsibilities, the opportunities, and the challenges we say we want. It's like a coach who doesn't play favorites. Everyone gets pushed, everyone gets stretched, everyone gets uncomfortable. The difference between those who rise and those who break isn't in the weight of the challenge, but in the strength of the mind carrying it. When people say life is unfair, I understand what they mean. It feels unfair when you've worked hard for something and you don't get the outcome you expected. It feels unfair when someone less experienced than you gets the promotion. It feels unfair when illness strikes someone you love. But if we take a closer look, life isn't so much unfair as it is impartial. The rules apply to everyone. Nobody gets a pass from hardship. The richest people in the world still experience loneliness. The most powerful leaders still experience fear. The most successful athletes still experience failure. The world is testing them just as it tests you and me. And that's the first lesson. We're not singled out. The test you're going through may feel personal, but it's not unique. It's part of being human. The question isn't, why me? The real question is, why not me? Because if the world tests everyone, then why should you or I be an exception? That shift in mindset alone takes us from feeling like victims of life to becoming participants in the process of growth. I remember speaking to someone who had lost everything in a business venture. They poured years of work, their savings, their reputation into an idea that ultimately didn't survive. They felt betrayed by the world, convinced that life had specifically chosen them to punish. And yet when we zoomed out, their story was not unique. Every successful entrepreneur, every innovator, every leader has stories of failure just as brutal, some even worse. The difference was that those who made it saw failure not as the end, but as the test. And when you recognize that the world tests everyone, failure stops being evidence of your weakness and starts being evidence that you're in the game. Think about it this way: when steel is being forged, it has to pass through fire. It's the heat and the hammering that strengthen it. Without the fire, it remains brittle. The test is the very thing that makes it unbreakable. The same applies to us. Without the setbacks, the disappointments, the difficult seasons, our minds never develop the resilience to handle greater responsibility. We might want the reward, but if we can't endure the test, the reward will crush us anyway. The world tests us because it must. If every dream came easy, if every goal was achieved without friction, if every effort was rewarded instantly, then none of us would ever grow. We'd be weak, entitled, and fragile. The test is not the punishment, it's the preparation. The world isn't asking, are you comfortable? It's asking, are you ready? But the problem is, most of us misunderstand the purpose of these tests. We think the test is about winning or losing. We think it's about proving our worth to others. We think it's about achieving perfection. It's not. The test is not designed to measure whether you succeed. It's designed to measure whether you persist. The people who build resilient lives aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who never quit. The world doesn't break people because they failed. It breaks people because they convinced themselves failure was the end. They stopped showing up. They stopped trying. They let the test define them instead of refine them. And that's the danger. If you don't toughen your mind to understand the nature of life's tests, you'll misinterpret every hardship as a personal curse when in reality, it's the very training ground you need. We all have moments where we look at someone else and think they've got it easy. We see their highlight reel and assume they've somehow escaped the tests of life. But behind every polished success story is a messy backstory filled with battles we'll never see. The world tested them too. Maybe harder than it's testing you right now. What separates them is that they allowed the tests to shape them instead of shatter them. If the world tests everyone, then the goal shouldn't be to avoid the test. The goal should be to prepare for it. You prepare by building resilience in small ways. You prepare by doing difficult things on purpose, by leaning into discomfort instead of running from it. You prepare by reminding yourself daily that hardship is not the enemy, but the ally of growth. When the big test comes, and you won't be caught off guard, you'll be ready to stand. Let's be clear, the world will test your patience. It will test your integrity. It will test your ability to stay calm under pressure. It will test your willingness to sacrifice. And it will test your belief in yourself when everyone else doubts you. These are not accidents. They are the curriculum of life. Every test you face today is shaping you for the challenges of tomorrow. If you fail today, it doesn't mean you're unworthy. It just means you've discovered where you need to grow stronger. This is why toughening your mind is non-negotiable, because the world doesn't care how smart you are, how connected you are if your mind is weak. A weak mind will crumble under pressure. A weak mind will sabotage opportunities. A weak mind will give up before the breakthrough. But a strong mind, trained to see the test for what it is, becomes unbreakable. So when you face your next challenge, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this preparing me for? That single question transforms the test from a curse into a classroom. You stop fighting against the process and start working with it. You stop resenting the struggle and start respecting it. You stop feeling like life is unfair and start realizing that life is giving you exactly what you need to grow. Remember this, the world tests everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, what you have, or where you come from. Your tests may look different from mine, but the purpose is the same. The only choice you have is whether you let the test break you or build you. And that choice is made not in the moment of the test itself, but in the daily decision to toughen your mind. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're preparing. Every time you choose persistence over quitting, you're preparing. Every time you choose growth over excuses, you're preparing. So that when the world throws its inevitable tests your way, you'll not only survive them, you'll use them to rise. Because in the end, the test isn't about proving to the world what you're capable of. It's about proving it to yourself. And once you've done that, there's nothing left for the world to break. A glass looks strong until it hits the floor. From a distance, it holds its shape, it carries water, it appears reliable. But when pressure comes from the outside, when it slips, when gravity takes hold, it shatters. The truth is many of us walk around with minds like glass. They look fine on the outside. They can carry the weight of small challenges. They can look impressive in moments of calm. But when pressure comes, when the unexpected hits, they break into pieces. That is the danger of a soft mind. It may look strong, but it is fragile. And life doesn't care how good you looked when things were easy. Life cares about what happens when pressure shows up. Because pressure will always show up. It comes in the form of deadlines, disappointments, betrayals, failures, criticism, and setbacks. And when it comes, it exposes the true strength of your mind. A soft mind is one that avoids discomfort. It wants life to be smooth. It wants to be liked by everyone. It wants certainty before taking risks. It avoids criticism. It hides from failure. It chooses comfort over growth. And on the surface, that feels safe. Who wouldn't want to stay away from pain? But the cost of avoiding pain is fragility. And fragility has no place in a world that is constantly applying pressure. Think of a seed planted in soil. If you give it no resistance, no wind, no rain, no pressure, it grows weak. Its roots don't dig deep. The first storm that comes knocks it over. But a seed that grows against resistance, that pushes through soil, that faces wind, that bends under storms and keeps rising, it develops roots that hold it firm. The difference is in the pressure. The same is true of us. Pressure either breaks us or builds us, and the deciding factor is whether we allow our minds to remain soft. The irony is most people want strength without struggle. They want resilience without resistance. They want courage without fear. But you can't build any of those qualities without pressure. Just like muscles only grow when they are torn and repaired, the mind only grows when it faces stress and learns to adapt. A soft mind, one that's never tested, will always crumble. I once spoke with a young professional who was brilliant on paper, top of their class, flawless credentials, polished interviews. They had been praised their whole life for their intelligence. But the first time they encountered a boss who criticized their work harshly, they shut down. They started doubting themselves. They considered quitting. Not because they lacked talent, but because their mind had been protected for too long. They had built no tolerance for pressure. Their brilliance couldn't save them because brilliance is not the same as resilience. And resilience is what the world demands. This is why we must toughen our minds deliberately. Because when we don't, pressure exposes us, and once exposed, the world doesn't stop to give us time to rebuild. It keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Trust erodes. Confidence shatters. A soft mind cannot carry the weight of responsibility, leadership, or even personal dreams. It will always find excuses. It will always retreat. The danger of a soft mind isn't just in breaking under external pressure. It's also in the way it magnifies pressure internally. When the mind is soft, every small challenge feels like a big one. Every slight criticism feels like an attack. Every delay feels like failure. Every obstacle feels impossible. The world doesn't have to be cruel to break a soft mind. It crumbles under things that a strong mind would barely notice. Pressure itself isn't the enemy. In fact, pressure is neutral. What determines whether pressure breaks or builds you is your preparation. If your mind is trained to handle it, pressure sharpens you. If your mind is untrained, pressure crushes you. That is why mental toughness is not optional. It's the foundation on which everything else depends. The way we think about pressure needs to change. Most people see it as a threat. They avoid it at all costs. But what if we started seeing pressure as feedback? What if we started seeing it as an invitation? Because that's what it really is. Pressure tells you where you're strong and where you're fragile. It shows you the areas that need attention. It tells you, here is the part of you that isn't ready yet. And if you use that information wisely, you grow stronger. Think about an athlete in training. The coach doesn't reduce the weight, so the athlete feels comfortable. The coach increases the weight, so the athlete grows stronger. The pressure of the weight is what builds the muscle. Without it, there is no progress. The world works the same way. It doesn't reduce the weight of responsibility just because you're not ready. It applies pressure, and in that pressure, you discover whether your mind is soft or strong. Some people hear this and think strength means being hard, being unfeeling, being cold. But that's not true strength. Toughness doesn't mean ignoring emotions. It doesn't mean pretending nothing hurts. A strong mind still feels pressure, still experiences doubt, still knows fear. The difference is, it doesn't collapse under them. It acknowledges them, then keeps moving forward. A soft mind sees fear as a stop sign. A strong mind sees fear as a signal that growth is near. Let's look at leaders who inspire us. The reason they stand out is not because life spared them from pressure. Quite the opposite, they became leaders because pressure revealed their strength. When the world was chaotic, they stayed calm. When others panicked, they looked for solutions. When setbacks came, they didn't shatter, they adapted. Pressure didn't break them because they had prepared their minds to withstand it. That is what leadership is at its core. The ability to remain steady when the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And here's something important: toughness is not built in grand moments. It's built in small, everyday choices. Every time you choose to do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, you're toughening your mind. Every time you choose honesty over comfort, discipline over laziness, persistence over excuses, you're preparing your mind for pressure. Because when the big moment comes, you won't rise to the occasion, you'll fall to the level of your training. If your mind has been trained to take the easy path, pressure will break you. If your mind has been trained to embrace challenge, pressure will sharpen you. The world today offers endless ways to soften our minds. We live in a culture of convenience, where comfort is sold as the highest good. Instant gratification is available in every direction. We can avoid discomfort with a swipe of a screen. And while that may feel pleasant, it quietly erodes our ability to handle real pressure. Because the real world does not bend to our convenience. The real world does not move at the speed of our apps. The real world doesn't delete discomfort with a click. The real world applies pressure, whether we like it or not. And when that moment comes, the question is, have we built a mind that can endure? The strongest people are not the ones who avoided pressure. They are the ones who leaned into it. They are the ones who treated every challenge as a chance to build inner strength. They are the ones who understood that a soft mind cannot carry a hard life. And life, by definition, will always be hard. So when you feel pressure, instead of shrinking from it, lean into it. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What part of me needs to grow stronger here? What lesson is hidden inside this challenge? Because every ounce of pressure you endure today makes you more capable of handling tomorrow. And over time, the very pressures that once threatened to break you will become the forces that shaped you. A soft mind breaks under pressure. But a toughened mind, it bends without breaking, it adapts. It learns. It endures, and eventually it thrives. That's the invitation life gives to all of us: toughen your mind or the world will break it. And if you accept that invitation, you'll discover that no amount of pressure, not from failure, not from fear, not from circumstance, has the power to shatter you. People often look at those who endure hardship with grace, those who seem unshaken when everything falls apart, and they assume resilience is something those people were born with. They assume strength is genetic, that some people simply came into this world with thicker skin, with tougher hearts, with minds like stone. But resilience isn't a birthright. It's not something given to a select few. It's built. It's earned. It's forged over time through experience, through failure, through getting up one more time than you've been knocked down. We like to believe in the myth of the naturally strong person because it excuses us from the responsibility of building resilience ourselves. If strength is something people are born with, then we don't have to try. If resilience is a gift, then we don't have to put in the work. But the truth is much more uncomfortable and much more empowering at the same time. Resilience is a choice, a daily choice, a discipline, a practice. Think of a child learning to walk. No child takes their first step and then runs a marathon the next day. They wobble, they fall, they cry. And yet they get up again over and over. They don't interpret falling as failure. They don't see it as proof they're not meant to walk. They see it as part of the process. Falling isn't the opposite of walking. It's how walking is learned. That is resilience in its purest form. Not giving up, not assuming the struggle is the end, but seeing struggle as the necessary path to strength. The same principle applies throughout life. Resilience is built every time you face discomfort and choose not to run. It's built when you fail at something important and decide to try again anyway. It's built when you don't let one rejection define your worth. Every setback becomes a brick in the foundation of resilience. And the more bricks you lay, the stronger you become. But notice something important: resilience is not built in moments of comfort. It's built in moments of challenge. Nobody grows tougher from getting everything they want. Nobody grows stronger from being praised all the time. Nobody develops endurance from only taking easy roads. It's the hard roads, the uncertain journeys, the losses and the heartbreaks that build the muscles of the mind and heart. I once met someone who had been through years of adversity, financial struggles, family challenges, career disappointments. On the outside, it looked like life had been unusually cruel to them. And yet, when you spoke with them, you didn't sense bitterness or defeat. You sensed wisdom, you sensed depth, you sensed strength that couldn't be shaken. They weren't born that way. Life didn't hand them resilience at birth, it handed them trials, and they turned those trials into strength.